Oh, nice.
Slow roll in. No, we're never gonna slow our roll here.
No.
At the teacher's lounge.
Not here.
No way.
No
We're
way.
lit. I've been
We're
snorting
lit.
chalk for the last 3 hours.
I remember as a kid, you would try to find weird drugs. We had a kid who snorted Fun Dip.
Oh yeah,
Oh
that's
my
why it's
God.
fun. You
Oh
you
my
put it on the
God.
stick. That white
Yeah,
stick.
oh gosh.
I'm like, it was the 80s. It was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time. Yeah, Scarface came out. Fun Dip was popping.
Credit was through the roof.
Credit was through the roof. Those were the Reagan years, snorting Fun Dip.
High on pixie sticks.
Did you ever have the kid who were you friends with a kid?
No.
Any of you guys? Were you friends
Get
with a
ahead
kid
of this.
who would like eat anything? Like people would be like, "Hey,
Glue?
eat that." He
Yes.
would just
Roly
eat it.
polies?
Paste.
Yes. I had to,
Yeah. How did that kid not OD?
I think
I
they
don't know.
did.
Yeah, they just ended up in special ed, but it wasn't.
went
It
to the
wasn't
hospital.
genetics. It was
Yeah.
glue.
It was glue. It was Elmer's. I mean, there was a girl who like could not stop eating glue.
Really,
The team,
it was
my
strange
first
addictions.
grade teacher would be like, "Blakely, put down the glue." This was first grade. For sure, it's gotta be methed out now. I mean,
How old was your
Absolutely.
first grade teacher?
I think she. God, it's so hard. The perspective is so weird. I think she was
Right, 'cause you're a
maybe in her
little kid.
40s, but remember, you're a little
I thought he
kid.
was old.
Yeah,
Everyone's old.
Yeah.
When I was in
They look
kindergarten,
older.
yeah, sixth graders were adults.
Yeah, yeah.
To me.
But people are progressively looking younger now. Because when I look in my parents' yearbook, they look like they
Have a
worked in a
mortgage?
coal mine.
Like they
Yeah.
were
Yeah,
30
They went
in
through 4
high
divorces.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, they looked 40 too.
And now I see. Have you guys seen college students lately? You're
No.
like,
They
no,
look
you're
like
12.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if
Yeah.
someone goes, I thought you was 18, you're lying.
No.
There's not a chance. Someone needs to be 45 before I believe they're 18.
100%.
It can't. It's
They
insane.
look like tiny tots.
It's so
Ah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's very weird.
I can't. I'm like, did we look like that and we just didn't realize it? Like we thought
I think we
were
did.
so mature.
I think we did. I think we did
Probably.
look like that. But,
But we
every
wanted to be
generation
older,
is looking
though.
younger.
Yeah. We wanted to be older though too.
Isn't that
We were
crazy?
Yeah.
young. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
we're,
and now
we're
I'm like,
here.
I'm
It
like,
sucks.
no, slow down the clock.
I know.
Facts.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whenever we were in school, I do think that we did look like tiny little kids. But I also think
Absolutely.
that
And
every
now-
generation.
You and I definitely don't look like tiny little kids.
No, definitely not.
If anyone
Definitely
here looks like fully grown adults, it's me and Matt.
Yeah, it's both of us. Even though I'm wearing like a denim, wearing a denim jacket. You know what I mean?
Just trying to look like a fisherman.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to dress. I'm wearing Oshkosh bagosh.
I see you grew your stuff out. It wasn't the mustache anymore. Now you get your whole thing.
It's just laziness, dude. I don't have any
Yeah.
time anymore. Like I'm so busy, I don't have time to shave. Like
Yeah.
when people just let themselves go and they're that
Yeah.
white guy that's like just
Yeah,
Just
dude, I can see
unravels.
from here, man. You got that nice little curve coming over the top.
I know,
lip
I
before
know.
the
I know,
mustache.
right?
Oh, wow.
Like it's starting to do that. I'm like licking my mustache and everything.
Oh.
How long have you been a
The-
teacher?
the-
You're just turning into a philosopher.
Yeah.
I know, right? Like I just take a bite out, and even the way I'm
That's
seated
funny.
right now, I'm like,
Yeah.
who can tell me what situational ethics are? And it's like we're in middle school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like-
this is a drama
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
You starting
I
to look
know.
like a teacher now with the you
Dude,
know what I'm
I
saying?
hate
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's why I want this podcast to take off. I got to get out of there.
Yeah.
Like, dude, hairs are starting to turn gray. Literally,
Dude, my hairline used to be down here when I started.
It's nuts.
It did. I
It will
remember
drive
that.
you nuts. Which leads us to you. You're working with adults.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
let me tell you, they're worse.
You
Yeah,
think
yeah.
because they're so set in their ways.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah. They're. I think there's an age, there's a curve in our life where we just go, no, I can't accept new information the same way. You just go, sure, I'll take your idea in, I guess. At best, that's most people.
It starts with music. Like as soon as you start being like, turn this horse shit off.
Oh my god!
And you're just like with music, it's like that's when you're done.
This
growing.
is crap. In my day, bum, 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 bum.
like just like a trumpet playing.
Yeah, in the history of aging, has anyone ever continued to expand their musical taste? I don't know.
Yeah, my girlfriend will put on music because she's like 5 years younger than me, and I'm like, ah!
I don't like your DJs.
Yeah.
You know what? If
Yeah.
it wasn't for women, I wouldn't even know about new music. It's always like the girl that I'm dating introduces me to, oh yeah, listen to this.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
what's this? Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But if it was just me, nothing above 1975 gets played.
Oh
You
my
know,
god. Yeah, I'm way further back than I even should be. I do a lot of 70s folk rock.
oh
Same.
yeah,
that was good
A lot of
music.
Jim Croce.
Yeah.
John Fogerty.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, what is it? The Blue Album? Do you, that
Yeah.
one's
Wait,
I
what's
could-
the one with the clouds? Wait, never mind. Anyway,
Yeah, I like James Taylor. I remember I was listening to Fire and Rain when I was like 16, and everybody was
So
like,
fucking
How sad were you on
That's
I've
Yeah.
seen fire.
Yeah, I always liked older music.
just good. That's good music though.
Yeah.
60s and 70s is just
Mhm.
it's just good. But yeah,
That's
like
so good.
you do get set in your ways more. Like
You
as you get
do.
older, and
Yeah.
it becomes it feels a little bit crazier.
Yeah, and I there was for a little while recently I was teaching stand up and like helping people punch up
Uh-huh.
their writing, and
I like how you said writing, like I guess we'll call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, there were ideas.
Yeah.
No, I will say there were some very
No.
fun. There were some people
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, okay, you have a comedic mind. You understand joke structure, and like
Yeah.
your brain works in an interesting way. And then there's people who you want to be like, so this is like a hobby. You don't want to like do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, like I've taken
Absolutely.
a painting class. I don't think I'm gonna be Picasso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
How do you talk to how do you let people down easy like that? Because it's like
Or do you?
people are because you're doing
it's
it.
hard.
For me, I'm dealing with just the general public. Zoe's dealing with the general public. Chris
Yeah.
is dealing with the general public. Like we get paid by the state,
I'm
but the parents are not paying us. People are giving you money. So how do you take someone's money and be like, thanks a lot, you suck?
it's a delicate balance, and I mean it. When I look back, I'm like, I should have been a little bit harsher. Because for me, like if I'm thinking of what I'm trying to get out of a class when I take it, I don't want someone who's going to be unnecessarily mean. You ever do an acting or whatever class?
Yeah.
Not even acting, like college courses where there were these professors who would have a reputation
For just
for being an
a
asshole.
jerk.
And it's like, you just want to be a dick.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't want to do that. I don't want someone to do that to me, but I do want someone to go, if I've paid a lot of money to get better at something, tell
Uh-huh.
me when it's like, that's not going to get you there.
Right.
keep it real.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
as we all know, being in the comedy world, it's not the most reasonable, sane group of people.
You're
That's true.
dealing with people
True.
who are one one bad thing
One minor
from pushing a shopping
criticism
cart.
away from
They're killing themselves.
Yeah.
One gunshot away for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm one gunshot away.
Yeah, there's
and
a
I'm
reason
about
I
to
did
win.
it over Zoom. Like, you're not gonna get me.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, somebody brought a gun to class. It's like, what was it? Comedy school. Yeah, that's the real reason.
It's a gun that has a little
Yeah,
flag
it's like-
that comes out. Bang.
Sure.
Yeah, tell me my jokes aren't funny.
It's like, yeah, that one didn't work either, bud. He starts beating me to death with a wooden gun. I mean, the most I would do it was moments like that where I did go. I had moments where when things were going well and it's like I'm giving good feedback and I'm able to really help someone.
Oh, just pause 1 second. Are you giving feedback in front of everybody?
Yeah.
One
So
person.
here's how I ran
Yeah, okay.
my classes. What I tried to do, I did one group. I tried one group that was like brand new baby intro to stand up, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to help. We got through it, but I was like, and not that I wasn't gonna. I was like, I don't want to do that. I can't.
It's like kindergartners.
I can't
Yeah.
teach you
Elementary.
how to like do stand up comedy.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the means to do it not over Zoom. And I'm like, I think some of what is helpful is being in a room for stuff like that. Cause it's little things like the most helpful stuff, I think, when someone's brand new is teaching them about, like move the fucking mic stand behind you.
Number
and
one, right?
Yeah.
little things like that you can't really catch over Zoom anyway.
Yeah.
But it ended up being more like mining for how do we find material versus here's material. So the majority of the groups I would do are people who've been doing it for a couple years. And the thing is I would have people I had an application where I would have people send like a video, and I tried to use that to weed out people who I thought they're not really
Ready.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like just not there. They're just not there yet. And that doesn't mean they won't be, but
Right.
it's like I didn't want to get someone at the
You're losing hair. They're so bad.
very
Yeah.
beginning. And then a couple of people really slipped through the cracks with some misleading tapes. But
Right.
only like one
It's
or
like
two.
an online dating picture. You're
Yeah.
like, this does not represent what's
That
going
person.
on with you.
Yeah, and what I wanted it to be, like I was giving, I think, of course, the majority of the feedback, but I wanted to make it this experience where it's like, I want it to feel like a little bit of a writer's room in the sense that while your material's also getting better, I want you to understand what it's like to like try to write in a different voice or like see things
Mhm.
from another perspective. Let's help
Mhm.
each other. And also try to set a tone of it's okay to do this. Like when you leave the class, find your group of friends. I wish people did that more in LA.
Yeah.
And I've been in New York and people will like sit down late at night at shows and like give each other tags and stuff. And here in LA, I think it's more about not wanting to cross town to get together. But
Yeah, it's like I would come and visit you 2 miles away, but
yeah,
you know,
so I
like,
wanted it to also be helping people hone just like writing in general. But man, when you could feel it in the class when someone was doing material that was painfully unfunny.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you react to that? Because like you and I have talked about this before, because we both feel people's energy.
Yeah.
And you're someone, and I know Zoe's like that. I
Mhm.
believe you're like that too.
Mhm.
It's anytime you're an artist, you feel people's
We're
energy.
sensitive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're sensitive.
Absolutely.
So you
Yeah.
think of like somebody else, like, because you're not a mean person.
No.
Nobody in here is a mean person. So it's like you feel something. So is there that pressure when you're teaching somebody? You're like, "Ah!"
Yeah, well,
like, you're like,
you
you're
know,
like, get me
it's
out of
like,
this.
What if I
'Cause
just
I'm like,
pretend to be frozen?
yeah, you're like,
yeah.
like, you're like, how do I? Yeah.
I don't know what happened, and I definitely don't remember who was talking before
Yeah.
or what was going on. So let's just move on to somebody new. I mean, it's
Yeah. How do you
painful
let them down
because,
easy?
You know, for me, it was. I kind of had to just take a breath and go. You know, I think this topic is more. I understand why you're passionate about it because a lot of times it was like something heavy, something deeply political. And it's like, I understand, you know, that we all want to try to use our voice.
And speak our emotional truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But make it funny.
yes, it's
Don't
like,
just-
it's okay to do that if it's funny.
Yep.
I was clear and I what I would do is, and this may be a fucking cop out, I would kind of do it either at the beginning or of the next class or at the end of the class so that it's not very clearly singling a person out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I did kind of give, you know, wrap up speeches where it would be like, comedy can come from truth. Yes, tragedy plus time equals comedy. There is something to be said about, you know, taking heavy things and making them light, but you have to make it funny. And at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck what's going on in your life
Mhm.
in terms, like, no one in the audience who bought a ticket. And, you know, obviously there is a level of exception if you're extremely famous and you have these passionate fans who are like, no, we want to know if that's a thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like at the level, first of all, everyone I'm teaching, it's like no one is coming to see you. And I don't mean that in a mean way.
Mhm.
Most people who come to my shows aren't coming to see me specifically. There's a handful. It's growing. Ideally, we all like start growing a fan base, but it's like people went, oh, a comedy show.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
I'll go see it.
Yeah.
And then
People are paying money to be
Yes.
like, God, please make me laugh. Take my
Facts.
mind off of my own shit
Uh-huh.
and you going,
or they go to one comedy show to
Depression.
where
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's people who just started. They're like, oh, I went to one of those one time. Be like, ooh.
well, then
Yeah.
those people
Yeah.
are like, I don't want to go to a comedy show.
And also too,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a degree of difficulty with certain subjects, right?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things like, yeah, you can tackle it and work on that on the side, but just tell us what it's like to work at Olive Garden.
Yeah,
Do you know-
it's
and then-
okay
yeah,
at the
and-
beginning of comedy
Yeah.
Yeah.
to go do a joke about what you look like.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Traffic's crazy. Who cares? You're building the skill of being on stage, reading the audience, learning to craft jokes.
That's it.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
people want, they watch specials, they watch the people they like, and maybe more in social media, but like they want to like get to be
Imitate
like,
'em.
profound.
Yeah.
To your point, that's exactly how I was, how you're describing that person for the first 3 years of stand-up. And then I broke down. I watched a video of myself and I went, that person sucks.
Yeah, try
I
to be
go,
Bill Hicks.
it wasn't entertaining. There was no entertainment value. It was me standing in one spot, no act out, no entertainment value.
Just
And I was-
strong speech
Yep.
Just
and
talking.
it was that moment. I was like, I'm done. And
and tore it
then
all
I
down.
did a joke about Folgers, and that was the first time I did an act out, and then I started actually having fun on
But you're
stage.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
it
yeah.
turns out
You got your way.
it's comedy and being silly is
Yes.
fun. And I
Yeah.
do think there
100%.
is, I don't know if it's like some of the comics that are big, even bigger now, but like when we came up, I feel like there is a thing where you go through a phase, or maybe it was just our generation of coming up of, I went through a thing of like trying to just be cool at the mic. And comedy's not cool. People want to be cool
absolutely.
and profound.
Can't.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if you want to be a speaker, go try to be a speaker. That's fine. People do like engaging speeches.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be like, I'm a comedian, then be like,
It'd be cool.
let me tell you about what's going on with the oppression in my life. You're like,
Yeah, you're like, dude, just stop.
Yeah.
just fall on the
Run.
mic.
Well, like it's kind of like how Dave Chappelle, you know, like he's like super, like how so many people want to be like that, but it's like people don't realize that's just who he is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he's still
absolutely.
having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Dave Chappelle's still having fun and he's still goofing off. That's him having fun. He's not trying to be deep.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like you either are that guy or you're not.
He's also earned the right to just stand up there and
Like
not
George
be
Carlin.
funny.
Yeah.
George
Like
Carlin.
George Carlin,
That's a
you know,
level of
it's like
fame
the
where
same.
people will go, I am willing to, and I even think probably there is a threshold still for if someone bought a live ticket to see Dave, they spent a lot of money, they saved up, this
Yeah.
is their big thing. If he were to go up there and not be funny the whole time,
Yeah.
some of those
it would
people are
suck.
gonna be, they're not gonna be
They'll
like,
be
well,
mad.
we got to hear from Dave. They're gonna be like,
Right.
I mean, I wish I would have.
I remember Dave
100%.
did 3 hours at the Laugh Factory.
He loves to
3
do a live
hours.
set.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like,
he did
yo.
5 one night too. I think.
Yeah. Smoking a
He-
cigarette the whole time. Like, fuck it.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
and just slowly drink. Was he drinking like whiskey or something and calling the waitress a
bar whore.
a bar wench or a bar whore?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember he followed me once at the store. I got to bring him up, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm bringing up Chappelle," which is so funny because 5 minutes before I realized I was bringing him up, people just started like coming in the room. You know, it's like word was getting out that Chappelle was going to go up, but I was
You
like,
saw it, yeah.
I must be killing.
Yeah. And then
People
you're like,
are coming in.
Like,
Outside.
yes, yeah.
I brought him on stage, and he goes, such a funny set. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And he was obviously just being nice, but at the time, I was like, he said it was funny. And then
I think he I don't think he would
No,
tell
he's
you that.
very
though.
genuine.
that's
I
true.
don't think he would
But
tell you
then
that.
He's a
2
genuine
hours
guy.
into his set, as he's been going
2
bar
hours
whore,
into a set.
he's drinking, he's smoking, he's having a fucking ball, and just being Dave Chappelle, crushing. Then at some point in a riff, he goes, "You guys know this show wasn't shit till I got up here." And I was like, "Okay, well, that really, David."
And it's
Yeah.
probably just his ego talking.
Of course,
Yeah,
no, it was
absolutely.
really,
He's a
it was
comic.
so funny to be like,
Yeah,
"You
yeah.
said good set," and he's like, "This show wasn't shit." And I was like, oh,
It's so funny that like because going back to like teaching this stuff,
yeah,
it's like I don't think you can teach people how to be funny. What you can do is you can give people structure.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
That's where
Yeah.
the teaching. All teachers really do. Everybody comes in with their raw material,
it's like
Yeah.
you're
and you give
highlighting their
them
strength.
structure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like you when you're teaching theater too. It's like
Yeah.
you're giving them structure. There's some people, no matter how hard you teach them, they just can't act.
They just don't get it.
They-
They don't
it's
get
like
it.
that-
Yeah,
those-
they can't
that
get out their
little
way
click.
either. Yeah, absolutely.
That little
Yeah.
click doesn't happen. And sometimes I think it's even like with like teaching stuff like this, actually teaching anything. I think a lot of times it's psychology, like your beliefs,
Oh,
Yeah.
which is why like you and I used to always talk about self-help and it. Well, more so me too, you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But like self-help, like
listen to these 80 CDs.
yeah, listen to these subliminal messages.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the
While he
more you
taps
can,
on his forehead.
exactly.
yeah, me, I have all these. Yeah, I gave Zoe
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff too.
Yeah, it's a
back in
whole
the
bunch
day.
of
Zoe's
meditation
All
stuff.
my friends. That's how you know
We're
I
doing
care
affirmations.
Yeah.
about you. If I gave you affirmations at some point in my life,
Yeah,
like that's how you like.
Matt's like, you gotta do this. It'll really help you. And then
Yeah.
5 minutes later, he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, remember that time we were about to do a show and I was listening to binaural beats and I was like, I feel weird.
No, it is. I think that, you know,
But-
a good teacher like
Yeah,
can recognize like a way that someone could understand something or find what that person is seeing or their strength. And it's like, how can we focus on that to get you closer to the goal of, and obviously, I mean, this maybe is more for like arts than math. I don't know how to,
yeah. Math
although
might
there
be a
is
thing.
different, I mean,
No, but
he
the
does
same
the same
thing.
way.
Yeah, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing. You're still teaching a structure
yeah.
on which people can operate in,
Uh-huh.
right? And stand up does have a structure, right? The thing is,
Yes.
the
Absolutely.
best comics make it look like the structure doesn't exist.
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're
That's
not
it.
doing.
Yes.
They're not going up there like
It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
seem like a formula.
Yeah.
It's
Yep,
like
it's
you
easy.
do the thing, you do this over and over again, so you
just
can be like
flows.
that. It's kind of like the show Cobra Kai. That's the way stand up is. Because like
representation. Okay.
yeah. Like you know how they're like teaching them how to do all this different stuff, and then finally it just comes together, and then they're just doing this, and then you finally have like everything put together. But it's that structure that you have to teach.
Yeah, you know what it almost feels like. You teach math, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever have students that like are naturally good at math in a way that it frustrates them to have to show their work? Does that ever happen to you? I don't know what level of math you're teaching, so maybe you're like not.
No, it's mostly 7th grade, but I haven't had a kid. No. I always tell them because it's easy stuff, and I go, "Yo, this is easy. This is just like dribbling a ball, standing in one spot, going like this. You can do this now in your head, but next year you're not going to be able to do.
You're not going to be able. So it's like get in the habit of showing.
That's the thing I tell them is like get into the habit of doing it.
I wish someone would have explained math like that to me because as a kid, when I was like really little, it would make me. I was good at math as a kid, and it would make me so fucking mad to like show your work, and it's like I don't know. It was like what work?
Yeah, I'd be like,
So
get it.
I would want to
That's
sit
the way.
down with it if a kid was like that and be like, hey, just kind of walk me through your thought process. And I would actually help them write it first.
Yeah.
Because the only way that they're going to be able to see any kind of flaws in their thinking later on is if they
write
get
it.
it down on paper.
Absolutely.
That's the
Yes.
important part.
And I think
Yeah.
with stand-up, it's like maybe that there's people who are kind of naturally early on good at they're maybe just like sort of thinking joke structure and it comes out organically. But then if they don't learn how to do the work, it's gonna plateau.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
only,
absolutely.
I think
They'll be
there's
stuck
like
one place.
it's very rare for someone I think to be a combination of this. Usually people come out and they have a great comedic mind and you're like, whoa, they can see the funny.
Yeah.
Then there's other people that come out and they're just straight up performers from the start.
Yeah.
And they have to work on the
They have
writing.
to work on the writing,
Right.
really
Right,
hard.
Right.
where like the
Yeah.
other person, that's actually has the comedic mind. It almost they're the ones like standing on stage, like and you're like, you got to work on the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
That's so
rarely
true.
is
That's so
someone
true.
naturally good at both.
I had
Yeah,
to work
very
on
rare.
writing because I was so like energetic, and that was like what I had to like put the time.
Yeah,
into,
yeah. I
you
think
know?
most people go, it's one or the other, and then
Yeah, you're a
Hope-
performer too, and so it's like and a writer.
That's
But which came first?
You know what's so funny is I always thought I was a performer, and then I kept getting the feedback. People kept going, "Man, you are a great writer," and I'd be like,
Yeah,
which I'm very grateful to hear. But I was like, I guess
You suck. Do I suck as a performer?
no, I was
It's a
like,
good
I
idea,
guess
yeah.
like my performance isn't that great. No one. I met Joan Rivers once, and she I mean,
Nice.
Rivers.
she knows nothing about me. It was just the funniest thing on earth. This is just me name dropping a thing. But I was with my friend Annabelle. Did you guys ever meet Annabelle?
I did.
Sisto?
Yeah,
Sounds
I remember.
She did comedy very briefly, but she was she was hot. There's no other way to describe it. She's
Yeah, I used to
a
have a
hot
crush
girl.
on her.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
it was not just naturally beautiful. It was like the kind of hot girl that takes work type of hot. Louboutins and the makeup and the hair and the tits and it was a look, and she wrote for Fashion Police. And one day she brought me, it was all submit from, working from home. Like she hadn't met Joan. So we go in, Joan knew who she was. She knew her name, but we go up after and she's like, "Hi, I'm Annabelle. And this is my friend Jessica. We're both comedians. I write for the show." She's like, "Oh my God, I love all your jokes." She goes to Annabelle. She's like, "Look at you, have this look. You're so funny. You're going to be a star." And then she turned to me and she goes, "Keep writing." Okay, Joan. But yeah, no, I think.
But she just had the look, though, right?
yeah.
That's what made her win. Yeah.
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 And I mean, she was also extremely funny, but it's one of those
Yeah.
things I think it can happen either way where people who come out early and they're really good in either of those lanes.
I find that the people that are better performers, that they start booking shows and all that quicker
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
because there's already so much entertainment value that it's easy to put them on a show because it's like if it looks like a duck, quacks like a
Yeah.
duck,
It's passable. It's like they'll figure it out. They'll
Yep.
be entertaining enough that people aren't going to be mad if they didn't have a ton of jokes. And then there's people who like sneak up on you, I feel like, in the
and they get
Yeah.
funny. There's
they
some
get
people.
funny.
It's
People
like
who
when
at the
somebody
beginning
gets.
you were like, but they like work really hard
And
to
then they actually get funny.
meet up with their performing, and then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, the
and then
next
there's
time you
people
see
who
them,
it
you're
never
like,
happens.
Absolutely.
I've seen some people get worse.
oh, that's my
Mhm.
biggest fear.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
Anytime I bomb, I go, I've peaked.
Well, how?
Well,
What,
you have a window. I feel like once success hits.
well, how did it get
Yeah.
worse? They stopped working on the craft, or they just?
I think that's part of
just
it.
like, I'm
but
just
I also
cool.
I think it goes back to those beliefs. I think it's kind of like, you know how like Tiger Woods, great
Mhm.
golfer.
Yeah.
Whenever he got in trouble for cheating on his wife and everything, he started sucking. So like this weird defeatist mindset got him in his head, and
Yeah.
then he's just like hitting the ball like he's cross-eyed,
Yeah.
and it's like going in like the lake or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just sucks now. And
I just
so,
believe that he.
I think that happens to comedians.
He needs
sometimes.
more pussy to thrive.
That's what it was.
And he's like,
Maybe he's detoxing.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't focused.
Yeah, he's doing that, and he's like
he
putting
just
on
hasn't
like that.
come in weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Actually, here's a quick, because I've never taught stand up, but I've done like writers' mics.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part of the structure? What was the hardest part teaching the structure to people? That people that had the hardest time accepting that this is what it is, or like there's got to. I'd be interested.
It's sometimes it like took.
It also explained the structure too, because some people might not understand that. It's a
Well,
comic.
I mean, it's so funny because I mean, talking about like writers versus performers, there's some people who can crush, and it's not even really. It isn't really formulaic. It's like they are entertaining, and the way they say things is just funny. But explaining things like, you know, classic joke structures like a rule of threes, where people will say a list where it's, you know, two things, and then the third thing is like the absurd,
Yeah.
crazy thing, or how something that Anthony Jeselnik does a lot is like set you up so you think he's gonna go one way, and he does like a
Misdirect.
Yeah, it's stuff that I think it comes from growing up watching comedy. I didn't have the words initially when I started comedy to explain. Like I would say things in joke formula, but I wouldn't be able to be like, you see, what I did here was.
Yeah.
100%.
And figuring out how to explain.
Yeah.
Like when it'd be like, oh, well, instead, and you should switch these two things and say that at the end. And then I probably sounded like a moron sometimes in the class trying to explain why. Like there was like, no, it just because it is funnier. Just do it that way.
100%. And
Yeah.
what's
It's hard to
Yeah.
explain.
But that
Absolutely.
also must have made you, in some ways, a better comic because you had to analyze stuff.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing is I started realizing like, why am I not doing this with this intensely with my own material? That's what I
Yeah.
realized. I was like, I am helping people craft like sets and jokes, and I loved it. But with my writing, I'm just like, I just, you know, when it comes, it comes. And I was like, no, that's
Yeah.
I'm being lazy. It made me
Well, you
realize
know
I was
what it
lazy with
is?
my own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's precious to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like,
It's hard to see your own things.
yeah.
Facts.
So when I used to go on stage before like a big show, I would make noises. I would do that. I would go to a mic. I'd be like, I got to go to a mic and I got to make noises because I have to make myself bomb. So I'm like,
you had to get it out of you?
Yeah,
Like you had to-
yeah. So I'm like, if I can make, and I do that for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can alienate everybody in the room, then when I go do this show, it won't be so
You won't give a
precious.
You like
fuck.
have
You won't
alleviated.
care.
I've
You've
alleviated
taken
the
the
fear
power away
Yeah.
of like, okay, that's
of
what
they
bombing
think
feels
of me.
like.
of what they think of me.
Yeah,
Because
you're building a muscle of I survived that.
I survived that. Exactly. And so I think sometimes, to your point, what happens is we have our material and we're like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. He's like, it's so precious.
Yeah.
You know, and then when it's somebody else's, you're like, oh, you could do that. And that could be, you're in that play
Yeah,
flow mode.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not
And yeah.
clinging to it. You're not like so in love with the thing that you wrote or you already think it's so great. And it's not your story, so you're not, well, we're really straying from what actually happened. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Mhm.
Or like, yeah, there is just like a playful lens when
Yeah.
it's not your own thing that makes it a little bit easier. It's the same as when you have someone, remember people would like proofread our papers when you had to write papers, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes someone would catch these typos or things that were so obvious that it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you're like, how did
I
I
did
miss
not
that?
see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's now I like to go and listen to. I've been lately listening to really old sets that I still have recorded
Mm.
because it's as close as I can come to listening as if it's not my own, as if it's like a
Right,
fresh
because
set
you're-
of like. It's so long that it's. It'll never be that I've never heard this, that I don't know what it is, but like being able to be a little bit surprised by my own choices, or there's like like coming up with a joke in my mind as the setup's going on, and that's not where I went, and I go, okay, here's a different. Now that
Different approach. Yeah.
yeah, because we've all done comedy, and as we've done it, like all these years, you obviously get stronger if you keep doing it. Your mind just starts understanding more. It's
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
make those connections. But what's interesting too is like you teaching it from doing it. You've heard the whole phrase like
those who can't do teach.
teach. So you learned how to do first. And same with me too with acting. I learned how to act first before I started teaching it. And you knew how to do math. You knew how to,
Act,
teach theater
yeah.
as well or do theater. And so
Yeah.
it's like there's this weird thing that like once you learn it, teaching can be kind of harder because you have to develop this framework to give it away to
To
somebody
other
else.
people, because sometimes
Because-
the way you understand things isn't
Sometimes-
how other people.
Right. And the people who are great at teaching but not doing, it's because they spent so much time, they didn't have a natural ability because there's that instinct.
Yeah, so they
that
spend so
allows
much
you
time analyzing.
Analyzing and trying to be
Yeah.
like, okay, I see what he did there. He did this and he did that. And then I underline that. And if I do that, I'll be Dave Chappelle. And it's like, no, you won't.
You'll never
do that. But you're trying to figure out the formula
but
that
you
isn't there.
understand what
But
he
when
It's
you
the
do
same
it-
thing. Yeah. Like
When you do it,
oh,
you
yeah.
go back and you trace your steps backwards and you're like, okay, how can I package this and tell somebody that? Because when I first started teaching theater, I was like, I don't know what to tell them. It's like an innate, like, I'm like, that
Yeah, it
feeling
feels-
you get right here and then it travels up your spine and then you're like, ugh!
And they're like,
And then they're like,
no.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Especially when you've done it for a long time, it feels so natural
Yeah.
that you're having to figure out, okay, what was it like before it felt this natural? Or it's just, I mean, like, there's
Yeah.
people who are incredible professional sports coaches who, if you got them on the field on the court,
Well,
they'd
they're
look
like,
like
I can't-
that.
Well, so
Sure.
that's what I was actually going to say is that usually the best NBA coaches, I'm a big NBA, love basketball, are people that were role players.
That's true.
And the people that suck the most are the stars because they were able to physically do, even if Larry Bird understands the game, right? And you could tell he's a student of the game, he can't coach it the same way as Steve
His mindset is
Kerr.
different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same thing. Michael
and-
Jordan. He tried.
Yep,
it.
Michael
Yeah.
Jordan. Well, why don't you just take off from the foul line and dunk the ball, right? You
Exactly.
can't.
Yeah, because their
Yeah, yeah.
frame of reference is their position where they were their ability. And there is
Their mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're so naturally gifted or if you practice so much in a specific way, it's because people learn differently.
Absolutely.
It's
Yep,
they
hard
do.
to explain to someone who doesn't have your mind how to do the thing that is easy for your mind.
Although I will
Right.
say that the next level of truly understanding any kind of craft is being able to teach it to others.
I think so, and I think
Absolutely.
it helps. I mean, it's what you said before,
Yeah.
but it's so corny and cliche to be like the student has become the teacher or whatever. But like,
You
you do
become the
learn
guide.
things. I mean, there were things I was saying or pointing out in class where I would go. I mean, I don't know how often you guys have like aha moments in your class where you go, "Oh yeah, that." Like you explain it in a way where it makes you realize something about it.
100%, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like I think that's even like a Bible verse. If you teach, do you not teach others? Like it's like when you're teaching somebody else, it's like this weird cyclical thing to where you're teaching yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
make
Absolutely.
the connections.
Yeah.
I actually, I'm really lucky this year because I have two groups of sixth graders that are incredible people. I love them to
Wow,
death.
what a miracle.
I know.
I know.
Seventh graders,
Seventh
Now,
graders.
what
are-
happens?
they're
As
the
assholes.
worst,
Yeah.
6th and 7th
Yeah,
grade,
they're
people
like-
just turn into booger factories.
Yeah,
like
super
Moonies.
cool.
the
Yeah.
sixth graders though. Check it. This is what I do for extra credit. So when the kids that are really advanced and they're getting it, instead of what I do is I pay them in Jolly Ranchers, and they
Pay
go. Yeah, I do. I pay them in Jolly Ranchers, and then they
Nice.
go and they teach the kids that are struggling, and then I come over and actually help them become a better teacher while they're
It's a
teaching.
teaching pyramid
Yeah, I go,
scheme.
Dude, yeah,
It's a
you're
t-
the Herbalife of teachers.
Yes, exactly.
MLM.
Yeah, you got to start.
MLM
You got to
program.
start a
He goes
certification
with Jolly
program.
Ranchers right here.
Dude,
But
that's a
it-
great
I'll
idea.
give you
though.
3 more.
I'm gonna steal that
Yeah.
because there's certain kids in the class that actually pick up theater, and I'm like, hey, can you go tell Molly? She's over there like farting and drawing on her binder. Can you
And
tell her? how to
sometimes I
act?"
think coming from a peer, it's less.
Pressure.
It's less
Less
pressure.
pressure,
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
this authority figure of, who knows what baggage every kid may or may not be coming into school with regarding their own like parents or
Uh-huh.
siblings or whatever that, this older, taller person giving them feedback could be, who knows, adding some sort of extra, like I'm going to be in trouble or like I'm a failure versus the kid that sits next to you just going, oh, if you just do it like this, It just feels a little.
Makes them feel better. What's interesting though, because it's like sometimes like students will like turn against you. Have you ever had anybody in your class that like is like, ah, like whenever you tell them, be like, that's just.
I had someone
you know.
who really just didn't want my feedback. Like it was
Straight,
just,
straight attitude, all on Zoom.
like, why are you
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just. It was one of those situations where I was really delicately trying to be like, that's not funny.
Mhm.
You're clearly passionate about it. A lot of times passion can lead to a very good joke. Right now it seems like you're just angry. And they were just aggressively agreeing to disagree, I guess would be the politest way to put it. But yeah, I just had to go, okay, well, let's just put a pin in it and we can revisit it on the next round, or we can discuss it if you want to talk one-on-one.
Yeah, you know what it probably was? Their opinions were so important to who they were as a person.
Mhm.
You weren't even attacking the joke, not even attacking. They thought that their whole probably beliefs and who they are or whatever they were passionate about
Shut down.
were being shut down.
Yeah,
Well, how dare you?
Yeah,
Well,
you are
people-
attacking their identity.
Their
because
character,
they
their character,
so-
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the way people wrap up their identity in
Their ideas.
certain opinions, and it's like, I get it, you should have things you believe in, but that
That's
doesn't
what
have to be who you are. And someone I mean, we see it all the time. I
With
mean, that's where
politics.
we are with politics.
Yeah,
And
that's
Yeah,
their
yeah.
you get on the
identity.
internet and you even try to like have a discourse with someone. There's no discourse.
Yeah, they turn into a
Crazy.
werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
if
on
you
their
go,
keyboard.
oh well, have you ever looked at it this way? They go, well, have you ever thought?
About killing yourself?
Yeah, yes. Fuck your feelings. It's
Yeah. Have you ever thought about this? It's like, have you ever thought about dying and getting off my timeline? And it's
Yeah,
like, calm
especially if it's a
down.
heavy topic and it's like
yeah.
you can't be
Discourse.
that angry about something and trying to make it a joke. Like you need space away from it.
100%. And
Get therapy
there's a lot
first,
of
yeah.
wisdom
Yeah.
in that. I feel like comedians naturally are kind of teachers in a way, because that's sort of what you're doing on stage. Like great comics, like Chris Rock is a teacher.
I
Yeah.
think
You know what I mean? He breaks things down like it's kind of a class. Like whether he's talking about dating, he'll be like, da 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 da, and he'll prove his point. His bits are kind of like essays. Like the whole bit about how you can't afford to have bad cops. He goes, just like you can't afford to have bad pilots. And he's like, I understand most cops are not bad. He's like, but if you have a couple bad pilots, the plane's gonna go down.
and look
And-
what's going on now. Okay,
And
sorry.
so
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just
Exactly.
he just basically argued his point. And it's like whether you agree with that point or not doesn't matter. It's him
But you're
arguing
listening.
a point like
Yeah.
it's like an essay.
Well, I think that's
You know what I mean?
some of the
Like-
best comedy to me is, and my favorite moments when I do try to do anything, which most of my stuff isn't. This is a big important point, but when
Uh-huh.
you can get people to laugh at an opinion they do not agree with, mwah.
Yeah.
You got like
Absolutely.
you're getting people to see where someone else is coming from.
Mhm.
And I almost feel like the reason comedians can do that is because if you're good at making people laugh, laughter is disarming. There's like that old quote of, if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh.
Yeah.
But it's
Mhm.
like, if you can get someone to laugh at themselves and go, oh crap, that's like, I'm that guy.
And
Mhm.
and I find that the majority of the time when people have, like say an audience doesn't want to hear you talking about an opinion, when I always say make everything personal.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
completely
absolutely.
disarms it. So
Personalize it.
instead of
When
me
you don't go, people like that.
Yeah,
people
it's-
like this
here's the
guy in the
thing I
front
do."
row, this dumb looking guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
instead of me talking about a politician or Christians, I talk about my grandma.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And then next thing you know, he's just talking about his grandma.
Yes.
Then their defense mechanisms are all
gone.
come down.
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, but like when
Yeah.
you were talking about that person being really passionate, you almost want to look at him and go, okay, but how does it affect you in your own life?
Yes.
Because a lot of the time people can let go of stuff when they go, actually, it doesn't.
it does. And let me tell you, it didn't.
Yeah. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, this is keyboard warrior and you want to do it on stage. And I get it. It gets dope. You get the dopamine hit when you go, here's why this group of people is wrong. And it's like, that's fine. Online in circles of people who want to be angry or about the same thing together.
And
That's
also-
not a stage.
And a lot of the
Yeah.
time, like, do you remember writing an essay as a kid?
5 paragraph essay.
Yeah, I still write that
Thank you.
same structure. I had to
So
use.
if
Yeah.
you,
In
if,
conclusion,
Yeah.
So if you look at it, right, like that person, right, that you're talking about, their evidence that they were using are all of these like stereotypical, probably generic things. They couldn't even get it to actual real evidence in the real world that has happened to them.
No, it's all their echo chamber that
Yes.
they latch
Yeah, yeah.
onto.
So-
And it's
Mhm.
like anyone who people like if there are if you how am I trying to say this? If there is a large population of people who have the opposite view from you on something, you need to be able to be open to understanding that if you want to make any type of
right, because that's the
Absolutely.
definition of mental
Headway in it.
illness, is what you just said. Like if most of the population disagrees with you, but you can't argue your point effectively, basically what you're doing is you're screaming in your glass container. And that's
Yeah.
what mental illness is. You are in your own world and you're not willing to argue. You're just like, ah.
Yeah, or just
And,
being able
you
to
know.
like, you could have an opinion that a lot of people agree with, but a lot of people disagree with. And it's just like, if you can't find the reason to go, if this many people disagree with me,
Mhm.
there must be something in their understanding, their point of view, how they were raised that leads them to be like that instead of just going, well, you're fucking stupid and you hate everyone. And it's like that,
Yeah.
you can't get people on board.
Exactly.
You can't get people on
They
board
stuck
by
in their ways.
attacking.
No one is like,
Yeah.
it's almost like saying, so the people that disagree with you, are they always 100% wrong? Right? And that's not the
That's
truth.
never the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's also, maybe it's like the thing that's supposed to be learned is just the fact that they have empathy for others.
Yes.
Maybe
you don't
the-
have to change your opinion, but to go like, oh, you grew up so different. Of course you see things differently.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it goes back to the thing that you're saying earlier. It's like when you're trying to teach somebody something, if you have your own opinions on this is who I am, and then there's there's an extreme example of that, like being like, I am not my opinions, and then that there's the person who loses themselves entirely because they're trying to be a Buddhist in Western society. They're like nothing. Jim Carrey, good example. Like remember when Jim Carrey was like, I don't exist.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's going around telling everybody that. It's like
Silly,
I
yeah.
get what he's saying, but it's also like if you go that far off, like your feet are not holding you to the ground anymore. So it's like there's that balance between like, you know, you can change your opinions and you're not losing yourself. And I think
people
that,
get
like,
afraid of that.
with comedy, it's really hard to teach people how to do that because people, they really latch onto their opinions. Like people will put on a Trump or a Kamala sticker on the back of their car and say, "This is who I am."
Yeah, a lot of comedians
Yes.
think like I
You
don't know if
know.
it's a branding thing, but they'll like lean so far, and maybe that just
So
is
far to
how
the right
they
or the
lean
left.
anyway. But yeah, but they like think that you have to be severe in whatever your opinion is. That you have to be like the most this or the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
that.
Well, it works for the algorithm. I will say that for the
yeah,
algorithm,
no, I think
it does
about it all the
work.
time.
But
I've had a couple
we need to
tweets
figure out
blow
how
up
we can
that I
do it.
go, maybe I should become a piece of shit.
But it's
Yeah.
also too,
'Cause that's
you
what-
know,
that's what-
it's and I think that people that are probably listening to this aren't in the comedy world. Stand up, when it's at its best, the ideas that are driving it are hidden within people, places, and things. When it's not explicitly stated, you know,
Yeah.
and that when you to that person that you were talking about, they wanted to talk about ideas, and it's like no.
It needs
Like,
to be personal. It needs to be like a real
yeah,
experience.
it's something that people
Absolutely.
can latch on. They can see, they could taste, smell, whatever it
You
is.
can't just be this big.
Yeah, it's
You have to make it small.
yep. The
Mhm.
closest, the best the closest I've ever seen anyone talking about an idea, but it was still like, but it was a concept that everyone could imagine. When George Carlin said, "You know why they call it the American dream? Because you have to be asleep to believe it."
Which
And-
is a great quote.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
way he does it just rocks. But everyone could see the American dream in their head, so
Yeah.
it wasn't this like
A different
out
perspective,
there
so, yeah.
like thing going on.
This
in
huge like concept that you can't even really wrap your brain around.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you need to understand and read all the same books as that everyone needs to have read the same books as you to understand this joke or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The
Well,
main thing is just, I think you're probably telling a lot of people, be like, stop trying to be deep. Just like
Yeah,
be
it's
you,
also-
which is the deepest thing you can be.
of course,
ironically,
and there is
you know?
an element of with people like developing in comedy and I think almost everyone who gets into it goes through it, getting people to understand that like you don't need to do an impression of the comedians you like. Figure out how you
Your
are
own
funny
voice.
and you are unique. And what I actually learned through doing it, and I'll still do one-on-one punch-up sessions with people, and I do one-on-one.
You're still doing that now.
Every once in a while. Well, I haven't in a while, but when I have months where I'm off the road and I have time, there's people who like regularly check in and they go, hey, if you have anything available, and I'll sometimes jump on. Or I've had like bigger comedians ask if I want to sit down and like do punch-up and stuff. But I also do like, I'll just kind of send out an email to the people on my email list when I'm like, okay, I have time. I'm going to take on like 10 individual sessions. Where I found my strength in helping people is most effective. I mean, I'm great at punch up, but rather than teaching someone like the intricacies of stand up and the formulas of jokes, where I found I'm most helpful and why I started trying to work with people who are a little bit further in is like the business career development side, because comedians
That's the big point.
struggle with that.
Comedians are retarded with business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is also so
Literally.
much of it. I mean, there's so much that is out of our control in this business, but nowadays there's so much you can be doing. And that is a formula in itself. And the amount of things I've told people that it's actually common sense. It happens with self-help stuff too, though, where you ever someone say like a phrase and you go, oh yeah, let it go. You know, like
And
this,
it just makes sense.
this too shall pass. But like the amount of people who will pay me for a session and the biggest thing they get, and they come back and they go, that was so fucking helpful. Thank you. They go, I'm trying to get more spots. Are you asking people for spots?
Exactly.
And they
It's
go,
It's so the
it's
basics.
like they
the
want
basic.
the permission
Yeah.
from someone who's a little further along, like for some reason, and not for some reason. It helps them in the same way I think it helps any of us. Like you ever go, you're sitting in the back of the OR and watch Bill Burr eat shit, and you go, oh, he eats shit too sometimes.
Yeah,
He's-
or Chris Rock.
Yeah, I've seen
absolutely.
Chris Rock
Me too.
bomb, and you go, okay, it's not a death sentence. So
Yeah.
having someone who they see and perceive as like, I'm booked, I'm on the road, I'm constantly doing spots around town. If I just go, I ask people for spots.
Yeah.
They go,
Mhm.
oh, you can do that? It's like, yeah,
A lot of what you're doing as a teacher is like reparenting people.
absolutely.
You're
Yeah,
basically
absolutely.
like, because
Especially adults.
if people are viewing you as a teacher, you are an authority in their life in a sense, and you're basically just giving them permission. Like
So much of it.
that's really all
Yes.
a lot of teaching
I agree.
is I mean, at least math, it's not, I'm giving you permission to say 4 times 4 is 90.
Yeah,
But it's like you're
permission
giving
to fail
people
and
permission.
try.
4 times
to
4
fa-
is 90.
Yeah, and be like,
we know who the math teacher isn't.
I mean,
Chocolate.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
4 times 4 is
chocolate, bro.
chocolate. It's actually peanut butter, but
That's
you know,
actually
it's
so
pretty
true. I'm glad that like you're bringing that up, because I know that people could also have their own mental hangups,
Mhm.
blocks, whatever, when
Resistance.
it comes to the
Yeah.
business side. So sometimes it is just someone saying, just email 2 people a day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, I can do that. And then,
Yeah. Well, and also
Yeah.
there is something, I mean, it's a trope in like business marketing classes when they teach you about stuff, but there's SMART goals, which are, I don't remember. what it
Yeah,
is.
I know what you're saying. I'm like, oh, susceptible,
Actionable,
Marty, Apple,
measurable. I mean, measurable is the biggest thing, is that
measurable. Yeah,
comedians
attainable.
just think I got to get up as much as I can. I got to write as much as I can. But if you're floundering, you feel like you're struggling, or like you're not writing, or like you're not getting spots. It's that say, yeah, okay, I'm going to do 2 emails a day. Or when someone's like, they have a block about social media. They're like, I know I should post. I get like spun up about it. It's like, okay, 1 video a week. Once a week. You don't have, because everyone thinks I got to post every day. And it's like, well, you're not doing it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You try to do it every day, you're going to post 3 days in a row, have a mental breakdown, and not post for a year.
because your brain can't
Yeah.
conceive
Yeah.
it.
Then you
But
know
I
what?
also
You-
think that
oh,
a
yeah.
lot of people they're afraid of success. You know what I'm saying? You know you
100%.
got to do the work. Just do it. Most people are afraid and they self-sabotage themselves, but they need to call you to get some confidence.
Yeah, you
to
just
go out there and do
go,
it.
hey,
Yeah.
it's okay. And there's also
Yeah.
this thing I learned about recently called I think it's called a happiness threshold,
Yeah.
where whatever level of joy we are used to,
Mhm.
we will subconsciously tear things down to get to that acceptable amount of joy.
Yeah.
Where we go like, like our brain goes, this is too much joy. It's gonna end up hurting us.
Yes,
So we
absolutely.
gotta pull it back.
Yeah.
So we'll get in our own way. And
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like so much
Self-sabotage.
of making it in entertainment, or
Yeah.
even having the possibility of making it is, I think, audacity. It's
Audacity
like, how
and
dare you
reprogramming.
posted that clip? How dare that you be willing to put on a wig and do a crazy character that might bomb or that it might make someone feel uncomfortable or whatever. It's so funny to call it vulnerable when half the time we're doing like really dumb, like, but like it's vulnerable.
It's vulnerable. Yeah.
It is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, it's like the thing that makes you want to become a comedian usually. I'm going to say just always, because I've never met anybody who
Mental
was
illness.
exempt from this, is some level of insecurity, because it's like something that you didn't get in your life. You know what I mean? There's something that went wrong, like something like broke in
or
your childhood.
seeking for like attention that
External
you
validation.
didn't get, love, or something you perceive as love.
Exactly. And it's such a generic thing to say, but it's like there's some kind of like validating thing that you're missing that makes you want to get it. But to be a great comic, I don't think you ever fully get over it, but you have to get over as much of that as you can.
Yeah, you have to
So the
be
thing
willing to fail to get. If
Uh-huh.
someone is never bombing, they are not trying as hard as they could.
Right.
be.
You have
agree.
to unhitch yourself from what the audience thinks. The thing that made
Which
you
is
want to
such a-
become a comedian, it's such a paradox, because it's like the thing you're like, please love me, but that please love me, on some
have to
level you
let go of it.
unhinge it
Yeah.
and let go of it. And I've heard so many comics say that. I heard Bernie Mac, because I remember I was reading his book one time and he was like, I wanted people to go home in love with me.
Yeah.
And because I wanted that so much, it was keeping me from my
It's
thing.
like
He
a
was like,
resistance.
Yeah.
and he I forget who it was. I think he said it was Red Fox. Red Fox took him to the side and was like, dude, he goes, you're funny. He goes, but you care so much what people think. He goes, you have to let go of all of that.
Yeah.
So he started going up there talking about being broke, people coming like knocking on his door.
You have to let go of like the
His-
perception you want people to have.
Absolutely.
all of
about
it,
all of
letting go of it. It's very meditative
Yes.
without sounding like douche. It's meditative.
But I think
But
like
it very is like you're shedding.
yeah, and
all
I
of
think
that,
part of the
you
reason
know?
why it's so important in the generic advice we all get as new comedians, you try to ask someone bigger, you go, write as much as you can, get up as much as you can. And I think personally that is because you need to build your own confidence in your ability.
Hmm.
Because in order to get to the place where you can let go of, I don't need this audience to be in love with me, a certain level of you has to trust you. Like, I know that I'm funny and I have a skill set. I am strong. This is a field I can do well in. When I am able to let go of, I have to prove something. Because I think sometimes we go out to audiences and we go, I have to show them I'm funny.
Hmm.
When I was able to go, they bought a ticket to a comedy show. They trust that I'm funny.
Mhm.
I don't have to prove anything. Those are the moments.
You really can't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do me.
And I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys, like whenever you ever been in just like such a shitty mood or so tired that you truly are like, I don't want to fucking be here. I don't care how I do.
Yeah.
And I kill.
Those,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
never
kill the
crush
hardest.
harder than when I do not care.
Yeah.
Because you're so
100%.
comfortable in your
Yeah.
own skin
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
that you're just being.
Yeah.
And
Your
then
essence comes out.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, most of us, anyone that's actually funny on stage, literally that's the spot we were trying to get to the whole
time.
is just being ourselves, right? And just free and in the moment. Because you were already, if you were funny before, you just maybe didn't have a little bit of the structure or something like that to learn or
Yeah.
to punch things up to another
Guidelines.
level.
Little-
Yeah. But other than that, it was just like, just to get to that point, but you have to go through so much crap. I bet acting, oh my God, I can't believe, like, I bet people, you take a kid,
Rejection,
some kid is probably a better natural actor, and then you give them all the structure and everything, then they have to learn all of it
Break it
to
down.
let it all go away.
Yeah.
Let it all
Once
go
it-
away.
how you
Yeah.
said with the,
Yeah,
what
because
was
we
it,
also have
your
to like,
Kung Fu movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cobra Guy.
Cobra
Yeah.
Cobra Guy.
Cobra
because
Kai.
you have to learn to shed all the like crap that you've ingested that has affected your psyche and your self-worth
Yeah.
and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
why most, not all, but most comics really come into their own later.
I think so too.
And like, it's not when they're 21, 22. That can
No.
happen. It does happen sometimes, but
I
for the
don't-
most part, like, it really doesn't happen until like you've been cheated on, you've been beat up, or like
yeah, beat down.
yeah,
beat
Yeah.
up.
you like by life,
Yeah, you have to,
but
like-
stuff has to happen. You have to be evicted from apartments. You have to like go through stuff, and then there's that like,
You learn acceptance. I mean, not to
Yeah.
bring it back to Buddhism, which you did make fun of, but like both like not accepting your circumstances, but the wanting and the chasing is actually a form of suffering, and it's like a roadblock to getting to where you want to go. So I want that. I want that. It's like, okay, well, the more you like say that, or the more you don't want something else. It's almost like putting up your own
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's even
barriers.
like dating. Like when somebody's like, yeah, I want to take you out sometime. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, when someone is really into you, why it's so much.
Yeah,
like,
why are
we're
you so
like,
into me?
"Ew."
You don't want that person at all.
You-
No.
nobody,
That could be a
no-
good person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
try
and
it
so
so person.
life,
Exactly.
you
You
like
only
that.
say that about
Yeah.
them because you don't find them attractive to begin with. They're not. It's always the person that's really
not what you
into
imagine.
Is
Yeah.
so. Let's
Yeah,
be
the
honest.
people you
Yeah,
like
I mean,
are rarely the person, like the people you're attracted to. You're
Yeah.
like, well, why
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
that person acting like
I'm
this?
glad my
Yeah.
girlfriend's into me. I'm afraid she's going to see this now and be like, is that what you think? And then I'm like, no,
Like,
I
no,
promise.
I wouldn't be
promise.
with you. If
Exactly.
that.
But largely.
Yeah, you have
that's
to have enough
what
things
happens.
happen where you learn
Yeah.
to just go, fuck it. Where it's like so many things have gone wrong that it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna be worried if you don't laugh.
hmm
Yeah,
And
my
everything-
family left me. I don't care if you laugh at my silly bits.
I don't care if you
That's so
laugh
funny.
about my Walmart joke.
Everyone I
Yeah.
love is dead. Ha ha. You don't like my Target material. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
you don't
You
like
just
you don't like my
described
suave
this.
joke.
all my family is dead.
That's
And
hilarious.
he's laughing.
but you do go like it also in the
That's funny.
when you're
That's so
talking about
funny.
going up and intentionally
We're watching
bombing.
Chris turn into the Joker right now.
The camera cuts back to him and he's like,
He's putting makeup on. My family's
my
gone.
family is gone. But I mean, it's the same as talking about going up and bombing. It's like that you build a resilience in doing that. It's obviously like no one wants to go up and bomb, but early bombing is like my life is
Tragic.
Yeah, yeah.
ending. And then I still every once in a while have a set where it's like when you really want it to be good and then it's not amazing and you're like, oh God, my life. But the more you do that, the more it's building a neural pathway where your brain goes, oh, we didn't die
Yeah.
because of that. Because that's what
Yeah.
it is you're having a physical reaction because there's a biological like caveman part of your brain that's like, I'm going to be rejected by the tribe.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
be ousted from the
You'll be
community.
ousted, you'll be kicked
Yeah.
out. Yes.
I'll
I'll
get
die.
judged.
I'll be exiled and won't be able to survive. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm fine.
Yeah. And actually, since you said bombing, sometimes I wonder if, like, when people are like, oh, what's the secret to success? And it's like, lots of failure.
Failure.
Absolutely.
And once you accept,
Failing forward.
yeah. And one of the
Yeah.
best things about stand up is that 90% of what we come up with will be unusable.
Yes.
And we'll never make it
Facts.
into a special.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably even higher than that.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
So
lot
it's like
of-
you learn that it's just about failure. And then failure doesn't become failure anymore. It's just something works or it doesn't.
it doesn't. It's
You
Yeah,
move
yeah.
forward.
I think somebody once told me Mark Norman said a joke bombing isn't a failure, it's information.
it's information.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
learn to go, all right, because
Yeah.
the nature of stand-up is really, I mean, you can sit in home and like write what is formulaically a good joke, but we've all seen the people who are crushing on Twitter try to do stand-up and you go, maybe stay on Twitter.
doesn't
It-
translate.
Nah.
Because you don't have that thing. But that's what I always am telling kids in class, because I'm like, guys, I don't care
Take a risk.
if you don't want to be I'm not trying to be like my master thespians.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
not
not
like
a seedy Hollywood manager who's trying to discover.
Yeah,
what
I'm
you-
not trying to discover talent at middle school.
Yeah.
But what I tell them all the time, I'm like, really don't even care if you like acting. I'm like, if you can get in front of people and like, I teach you like cognitive behavioral therapy. You get in front of people every
I
day.
love CBT.
And yeah, I'm trying to teach them CBT. Like you
Yeah,
get in
yeah.
front of people every day. It's gonna get you to a place to where you don't care to speak your mind, to do all these other
Makes
things.
you a more
as much.
comfortable human.
Makes you more
Absolutely.
comfortable. Because you have to, if you get punched like this 500 times, eventually you're not even gonna feel it. And so,
Try it, Matt.
I
Try
use
it.
that
Okay, try it.
example. No, definitely don't.
Cut to Matt. His
Exactly.
jaws off.
Yeah, my
Oh,
jaws
shit.
are.
I don't
He
feel
says it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like it stops affecting you. You get over the fear of saying the thing that's on your mind, or like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think it's an exercise in resilience, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's all it is. So with that being said, I think that it's just like you should teach a class on how to bomb gracefully.
And boy, could I not how to bomb.
Just how to bomb.
The
There is no
least- Yeah.
graceful way.
I mean, honestly, that probably would be a great
That'd be
a
a great
video or a
class.
talking point or a class. Like,
Yeah, how to bomb.
Yeah,
but
how
not
to
just in
bomb.
stand up. You could do like how to bomb everything. Job interviews. How
Imagine
to bomb going up with the
I quit comedy, I become known as a personality who's like failure.
Yeah, that's a
Go out
failure
there and
lady.
fail.
Succeeded talking about failure.
Failure lady.
Our greatest success is failure.
My greatest that's it. Yes, it's self-help. Yeah, it's the Nobel Peace Prize, or Nobel Literature.
Failing
whatever.
for the win.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
epic fail.
The epic fail.
The epic fail. It is interesting though, because it's like that really is that's where the secret is.
That word,
just
that's where it
failing.
is. It's like you.
The discomfort is where the secret
Yeah,
sauce is.
because that's what so many people are afraid of is that feeling. They're avoiding the like discomfort and the shame, and you go like, well, this will pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like okay to be wrong. You can learn.
And
Mhm.
everything now has literally become swipe culture. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even if we do something
Yeah.
stupid,
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
Like-
you have to do something so horrific for people to remember it was horrific.
even if
Like,
you
if you
do,
bomb, people forget about it.
I feel
Absolutely.
like even now, like though, with like celebrities, you're just seeing horrific thing after horrific thing.
Yeah.
Like I just watched the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. I haven't saw it.
Yeah,
yet.
I
wanna
watched
see
it with my
yeah.
girlfriend, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "He's pretty funny though."
Yeah.
I was like, that was
Yeah, it's like, do you know how wildly famous you have to be for something to happen where like it doesn't leave the zeitgeist? You think you bombing at the third wheel is gonna haunt you for eternity?
No.
No.
As crazy as Kanye is, he's still gonna make it. He's still gonna make
100%.
millions. Nothing's gonna stop what he's making.
That's the perfect
Rudest
example.
person in the world, but he's still gonna make
Oh my
millions.
God.
He's
Yeah,
an
you're
asshole,
right.
but
He
he's
sold
good.
swastika shirts at the Super Bowl.
That's so
Like,
crazy.
Did you hear about that?
Disrespectful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was like, go to my website.
And it was swastika
He
shirt.
gives no fuck.
swastika shirt, and it's
Yeah.
like, and then yet
And
he
people
still,
bought them. That's
Yes.
the craziest part.
Yeah,
People are like people like that. I'm obviously hate that.
yeah.
I hate that he did that. But the amount of conversation that always goes toward the celebrity that's doing the bad thing, but there's rarely a conversation about like, and let's talk about why they're making so much money doing this. That's that's a far more insidious problem that people bought the swastika shirts.
Mhm.
Who are those people?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, believes in Kanye, I guess so much, or they just are Nazis, or they're like, this is going to be worse.
There's a lot of
because this
trolls
incident.
out there too. There's
Troll-
people who want to do the thing that you.
They're making millions trolling.
Yeah.
He does it on purpose, yo. On
That's
purpose.
what I
Yeah.
have started. I'm
Uh-huh.
like,
I-
maybe
Yeah,
abandon.
he just gets off his
Yeah,
meds,
yeah.
goes on weird rants, and then makes money and goes back to on his meds.
Yeah.
I blame the music industry.
Exactly.
I blame the entertainment industry. Look, I think Kanye is a relatively. People aren't going to be happy with what I'm about to say. I think he's a solid producer.
He's a genius, honestly.
No, he's
No,
he's a
great.
genius.
I
He's a
don't
great,
think
he's
he's
a
a
great
genius.
musician.
I
He's
think
a
we
great-
bought into being told he was a genius. I think he was really good at what he did, and then he got found by a music industry and like, you're a genius.
So
And
so
people-
you don't think you have to be a genius to be in your art, be really, really good to make, you know what I'm saying? You can't just get in and
I think
you
genius
just you make
is
it.
thrown
But
around. I think that he's good at getting in flow, and like I do think he's extremely good.
I think he's a musical genius.
I think
yeah.
the industry loves to just big up someone who's really good, and maybe he is a genius, but I don't think he's a genius, but
I'm not gonna go for
but how
that shit.
just
No,
someone's
way.
the hot thing
Yeah,
at
yeah.
a certain point, and the business side goes money, 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 and they rally around that person. They go, "You're the greatest. You're so fucking good." And I think it happens with comics too, where I don't think that we'll ever see what the potential of Kanye's, if he is a genius, could have been because of how early someone went, "You're a genius," and he went, "I'm the best. There's nothing better." I think people stop growing when they think they're a genius.
Well, I also
I think it's a
too,
detriment.
with
I
genius.
agree,
The
I agree.
interesting thing, we
agree.
conflate genius
I know
with
you guys
moral.
hate me for saying
No,
that.
I don't.
No, that's something deep to think about. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think we conflate genius because a lot of times we tell
Doesn't
kids
have
like,
to be a
you can
moral
be a
thing.
genius.
Yeah.
We conflate it with morality because you can be a genius and be awful.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
it's like, what even does
you-
genius mean? Because
It doesn't
if you want to
mean
get
anything to do with
specific
morality.
about,
But also,
Like,
like, just because
nothing.
something makes money doesn't mean that it's genius either, right?
yeah,
A machine gun kills
Genius.
people, right? But people, but you know, right? But you,
That's a genius.
But
if
it's
your
a-
plan is to kill people,
So
though,
basically, you saying you could be a genius but still be an asshole, correct?
I'm saying that you
I
could be a
think so.
genius
Yeah.
and not make money. You could be a genius and make money.
I spit.
I
Yeah.
think that that we have to remember that the entertainment industry, the biggest illusion of it is the show part, that it's actually just a business and people get wrapped up in the show.
Mhm.
But they're selling whatever product. It's like, think of it,
We're all used cars.
they're just out there going, okay,
That's
what's
the name of the
popular?
episode.
That's
What's
true.
popular?
We're all
Okay,
used cars.
Yeah.
we'll get behind that. You know,
Kanye
Yes,
was
wait.
the Hummer of his time, and people went, "There's nothing greater than this."
Well,
Well, it's also like, I guess it depends on what you view. I guess if genius is being really good in one specific thing, that's a different conversation.
That's what I
You know,
think. I think
one
genius
point,
is hyper focused.
they still think about his first album. He's a genius. The first album.
But what I think happens when
Yeah.
people
That's what
go,
happens.
"This is genius," or the risk of what happens, and I think that's why I think it's a lesson in maybe even like teaching or like how you approach someone who is really good at something.
Yeah.
That's a slippery slope, because I also think I think there's comedians who, like you were saying, it usually takes a long time to really get as strong as you're going to get. There's comedians who pop really early, get a ton of stuff, and I think it makes them go, I'm really great at this.
I get what
the
you're
way
saying.
I
I
do
get what
it
you're
is
saying.
good. And then they almost stunt themselves because they keep doing it the way they're doing it then. Because they go, this is genius. I've been told this is genius. I'm going to keep doing it this way.
Well,
Keep doing
and
it
they
that
never
way.
grow out of it.
But then
That's
there's
true.
that I think the way I describe genius is anybody that does something at a high level again and again and again and again. And so like you do something really well at a high level, you have like this thing to where it's like, I look at genius as it's a shortcut. Like you're like, like your brain knows the way
Yeah.
to where you can immediately get to like a thought.
But
or
you
an
have to keep
activity.
doing the work.
But you have to keep doing the work
Absolutely.
and stuff. But it's like you find your genius to where it's like, you know, this is the thing that you're so good at that nobody else can do is just like the car. You get there from like 0 to. I don't know why I
Is
keep
that
going.
a sound effect that they're doing?
That's
he-
Matt.
he-
He's-
Okay, so
Matt
you
Miller.
know twice there's been like an
energy
explosion sound, and I'm like,
yeah.
why is there a car backfiring at the
I don't know
exact
why I
time?
kept doing that. Because, you know what's
You see his
crazy?
face we did it.
Yeah, I think
Well,
I had
I
a lot of
also-
head injuries as a kid, so sometimes I do stuff, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do stuff, and I'm like, why did I'll watch the
Yeah,
tape,
yeah.
and I'm like, I did that 65 times, going.
That's the clip.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I also wonder, like, that level of intense attention, if you get attention for being a quote genius in something, I wonder how addictive that is. And if like part of what we're seeing when Kanye has these outbursts is at the moment, maybe he doesn't have a big genius thing he's working on, which everyone goes through that. You know, everyone's had comics have writer's block, whatever. But he is like, I need people to look at me.
so
Racism.
Yeah.
do you guys ever remember the
Yeah.
old Jimi Hendrix quote about compliments? He said, oh, it was great. He said that I don't like compliments. I find them to be a distraction. And that's that's why he kept improving. So I think what you guys are also saying, and maybe I could say it even better, is like usually people get to that level. Say you're talking about that, something that's kind of like broken or needed that validation, right?
Yeah.
They get to it. Now everyone is surrounded, but they also they're feeling so good. They never want that feeling to go away, and they don't want to go back to when it was hard. Number
And so
two,
they go, people like this. So
yeah,
I'll do
and then
this.
also,
Pretend, yeah.
how many people will have that self-awareness to go, that sucks? How many people have, like, you're just surrounded by yes
man,
people.
because you're their paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
why
they need you to feel good. They need you to like, oh, if you're the person paying me, I need you to like me. So I'm gonna go, that's great.
there's only been
Uh-huh.
one stand-up comic that I've ever watched that actually kept improving after their second special.
Really?
That was Louis C.K. Everybody else, huge drop off after their first,
Because you get surrounded by yes men. That's my biggest fear if I
Yeah.
were to ever get, is that like having people just go,
What-
that's great. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
fucking be like, no, that bit sucks. It's weird. It's isolating people.
Yeah, yeah.
People don't
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
talk to people that way though. Like what you just said. Like, do you really have any friends that would tell you, be like, yeah, that bit sucks. It's isolating people. It's horrible. Like,
I just,
Yeah, I feel like
I would
you
hope
would- you
so.
would.
How about
But,
this?
well,
I would
look at
hope
Kevin
so.
Hart. He has around all real dudes he came up with, and they're still doing comedy, the Plastic Cup Boys.
I mean, I don't know if like
Mhm.
my
but they
friend
still go
would
check
do-
him though.
Oh, I mean, plastic
Yeah.
cup.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's like, I don't know.
That's true.
But I would like to hope. I want to have friends that wouldn't want them to go, that sucks, because that hurts. And,
No,
but
I
you want
think-
them to go,
yeah.
that one's weaker. That's not
Or
working.
they would just-
or that's been done.
Yeah. Or they would look at you and go, you did the face. That's why you got the laugh. and you're like, oh, maybe you have like people know you, but you got like you put your eye
And you
up,
don't even
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
you do it.
and then that's why it got the laugh, but it wasn't really
The
that
punchline.
strong. So next thing you know, you go, hey, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start going up on stage and not being Jessica Michelle Singleton and doing an impression of that. I'm going to bring it down to just see if the words can work,
yeah.
Yeah,
and then build it up after that.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like you want, I don't know. I never want to stop growing, but there is that delicate, you got to find that area between I'm the greatest, no one's greater than me, and thinking you're like the biggest piece of shit. You have to like give yourself, you also have to give yourself credit when you do a good
Yeah.
job.
That's true, too.
Yeah, I there's always the thing that makes you keep growing is discontent. I'm not gonna say even ingratitude. You just
I
have to
agree.
have perpetual discontent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To where you're like, okay, I
You
did that.
believe it could be
now I
better.
have to keep improving that thing. And it's like perpetually. So it's like if you're a parent out there and you want to create somebody that's a genius, just make it never good enough. You know what I mean?
No, you can't say that.
That's-
Nah, I can't say that. The kids gonna kill
Hey,
themselves like that.
No,
They
I'm
don't give
joking.
up.
I'm joking. I'm being
If that was
serious.
true, my mother would have made several geniuses too.
But it's that balance of being like you're the greatest thing in the world, but it's also like my mom made me feel like I was the most special little guy. My dad was like, you should do this, this, and this. Like everything was stuff that I could improve upon.
Oh yeah, my
So it's
mom,
like you have to
nothing
have
was
that
ever good
balance
enough.
Oh,
of,
really?
Of ego,
Yeah.
of ego, plus oh my gosh, that was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
And then,
yeah.
God,
so
that
it's
was
like that creates psychosis or just really good artists. Or probably both though.
You're really playing with fire. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Guys, I'm not a parent. Don't take my advice. So where can people find you? Where can besides right now, right here?
You can find me everywhere at JMS Comedy, any of the social media. If you want to see me live, go to punchup.live/JMS and I'll have a special coming out in late April.
Oh,
Late
that's
April.
The
awesome.
very first hour.
Yeah.
special,
Awesome.
So.
Yeah,
So this will
congrats.
be
That's
probably
super cool.
Yeah.
at the end of March. So it'll be coming up. So like in like late
Yeah.
April. Like
Check
around-
out my social media. By then, hopefully, I have the date in mind, but because I don't have the final lock, I'm afraid if I say it, something's gonna go wrong
Mhm.
and get pushed, and I'm gonna be like, "Well, I told everyone it was this time." So late April. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Nice.
How long is it?
My special?
Yeah.
Right now it's an hour. It's an hour and 6 minutes.
Sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, nice.
Good.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
real
Congrats.
special.
it's a real
That's a
special.
real
Real,
special.
Not
I-
like 15 minutes.
I talk too much. There's one bit no, you know what? I don't think I'm cutting anything.
Do you have a name for it yet?
Hi, y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Nice.
I filmed it in
love it.
Louisiana. It talks a lot about my early childhood, which took place on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. So
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
Mississippi?
until 6th grade, then I moved to Alaska.
Okay.
I'm actually so afraid that everyone in Alaska is going to be furious that I do not talk about being from Alaska at all. in this special. And I cut something that I'm either going to put it out as a clip or have it in the credits where I allude. I'm like, then we moved to Alaska, and in the special as we filmed it, I was like, I don't have time to talk about it. That'll be in the second special. So hopefully those people will watch to the end. And now I'm going to be oddly beholden to mentioning Alaska in my second special, but I gotta say something about it.
I still remember
Absolutely.
when you and I first became friends. It's like 2010. I still remember one of your early jokes about Alaska.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went viral recently. I did I have an old clip of it.
State of Depression.
Oh
joke?
no, but that's in the full
Yeah.
set. But I talk about how there's 4 guys to every girl.
Oh
And-
yeah, I remember that joke. And
In
they're
Alaska?
like,
Yeah,
I can believe it.
Yeah, they're just poking at her.
Exactly.
yeah. Hey, lady, you're just a fishbowl everywhere you go. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. But there's, I guess, too many weird parts of my life to put them all in 1 hour. But I guess that's hopefully a good thing.
That's
The
good.
second special.
Yeah.
The second
Yeah,
special.
good stuff.
Other weird parts
Northward.
of my life. Just call it that.
Yeah. The last frontier. And it's just me alone in an igloo being like, and another thing.
Awesome. Well, she's hilarious.
I don't know
You
if I
guys
was
care.
on this.
I don't know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for
Yeah,
having
appreciate
me.
it.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you for
us.
coming down.
So
Appreciate
cool.
it. For
Keep
sure.
teaching. Keep inspiring those children.
Oh yeah.
It's hard.
Tell your
Yeah.
friends about this fucking podcast so they can go on tour.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
See ya.